Hey everybody, it is Teacher Katie with another grammar point for you. Today we are talking about comparisons with as. So we are comparing two things. Today is as cold as yesterday. What two things are we comparing? Well, we're comparing today and yesterday, and we're talking about the temperature. Let's look at our sentence. What's the subject of our sentence? It's today. How about the verb? Is. Now, what kind of verb is? Well, it's our be verb. Take a second to think about the other be verbs you know. Now check your answers off to the right. We have in present tense, am, is, and are. In past tense, was or were. And in future tense, will be. So remember, with this comparison, we want to use our be verb. Finally, the object of our sentence is yesterday. Today is as cold as yesterday. But how about this middle part, as cold as? That's the language that we are using to compare. So let's break this apart. We have as, as. What type of word is cold? Is it a noun, a verb, an adjective, an adverb, preposition? What is it? That's right, it's an adjective. Now, let's review. What exactly are our adjectives? Well, adjectives we know describe nouns. They also give us more information about those nouns. So here I have three nouns: a tree, a box, and a blouse. Remember, that's a woman's shirt. So let's add in an adjective to give more information to these nouns. Let's start with a tree. We could say it's a tall tree. Tall is our adjective here. How about a box? Well, we could say a heavy box. Heavy is describing the box. Finally, how about a blouse? What do you think? What adjective will we use to describe a blouse? How about an expensive blouse? Here I have two adjectives that you know, cold and hot. I want you to pause the video and try to make a list of as many adjectives as you can think of. 10, 15, 20, however many adjectives that you can think of. Go ahead, pause the video. All right. Well, here I have a list of adjectives I have made. However, this is not all of the adjectives. There are many, many more adjectives out there. But if you forgot any adjectives from my list, you might want to add them onto your notes. Let's take a look at our sentence again from earlier. Today is as cold as yesterday. Here's the form we are using. We're having a subject, then our be verb, then we're saying as, adjective as, and finally our object. Here we are making a positive statement. We are comparing today and yesterday, and we are saying that they are equal. They are the same. The temperature today and the temperature yesterday are the same. So this is like in math when we say 1 equals 1. They're equal. How about this sentence? Texas is not as cold as Minnesota. What did we add? Well, we added the word not. Look at our construction here. Subject, our be verb, then we have not as adjective as, and finally our object. This is a negative statement. we are comparing Texas and Minnesota, but we are saying that the temperature is not the same in Texas as it is in Minnesota. So in our negative statement, this is like in math when we use the does not equal sign. The number 1 does not equal the number 2. That's kind of what we're saying here. Texas does not equal the cold temperature in Minnesota. So let's look at those again. We have our positive comparison, like when we say 1 equals 1 in math. To use a positive comparison, we say as, adjective, as. Here was our example sentence. Today is as cold as yesterday. Now we have our negative comparison. Like in math, 1 does not equal 2. So we use not as adjective as. In our example, Texas is not as cold as Minnesota. Let's look at these 3 people here. We have Jenny, who is 25 years old, Brad, who is also 25 years old, and Carl, who is 16 years old. We're going to compare Jenny with Brad, and then we are going to compare Brad with Carl. Let's look at Jenny and Brad first. Jenny is as old as Brad. This is true because 25 equals 25 years old. Let's look. Can we switch Jenny and Brad in this sentence? Can we say Brad is as old as Jenny? Well, the answer is yes. 25 still equals 25. So both of these sentences are true. Jenny is as old as Brad, and Brad is as old as Jenny. Now let's compare Carl and Brad. We can say Carl is not as old as Brad because 16 does not equal 25. Can we do the same like we did with Jenny and Brad? Can we switch Carl and Brad in this sentence? Can we say Brad is not as old as Carl? It looks like it because 25 does not equal 16. However, the first sentence we can say Carl is not as old as Brad. But the second sentence is false. It's incorrect. We cannot say Brad is not as old as Carl. Why is that? Well, our first sentence, Carl is not as old as Brad, means that Carl is younger than Brad. What about our second sentence? Brad is not as old as Carl. Well, this means Brad is younger than Carl. That's not true. Brad is not younger than Carl because Brad's 25 and Carl is 16. So, it's important. We have to be careful. When we compare two things with the positive, as, it doesn't matter which noun is the subject and which is the object. But when we compare with the negative, not as, we must always put the lesser noun as the subject and the greater noun as the object. We'll talk more about that later. But for now, it's practice time. Here I have 3 circles. I want you to pause the video and write 4 sentences about circle A, circle B, and circle C using the positive comparison as, adjective as, and the negative comparison, not as, adjective as. Go ahead, pause the video and write 4 sentences now. All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at those sentences. What can we have for number 1? Well, if we look at the circles, we can see that B and C are the same size, but A is larger than B and C. So we'll start with comparing B and C. because this is the positive comparison. So we can say circle B is as large as circle C. We can also say circle C is as large as circle B. Now let's look at circle A. We can say circle B is not as large as circle A, or we can say circle C is not as large as circle A. All of these sentences are true. If you look at numbers 1 and 2, here are our positive comparisons using as, adjective, as. Notice that sentence 1 and sentence 2 mean the same thing. Circle B is as large as circle C means the same as circle C is as large as circle B, because they're the same. But let's look at numbers 3 and 4. Starting with number 3. Circle B is not as large as circle A. Can we say circle A is not as large as circle B? No, because our first sentence means circle B is smaller than circle A, and this is true. But our second sentence means circle A is smaller than circle B, and that is not true. Circle A is not smaller than circle B, it's actually larger. So we have to be careful and remember to put the lesser noun first. Let's look at number 4. Circle C is not as large as circle A, and circle A is not as large as circle C. Which one of these sentences is correct, and which one is incorrect? All right, let's look at the first one. This first sentence means that circle C is smaller than circle A. And that's true. Circle C is smaller. Our second sentence means circle A is smaller than circle C. But that's not true. Circle A is the largest circle, so we cannot say circle A is not as large as circle C. So remember, when we use the negative comparison, not as, we must put the noun that is less first. But this can be tricky, so you have to pay attention. Let's take a look at this photo. We've got a man and a woman, and let's talk about their height. What 2 adjectives can we use to compare their height? Well, we can use tall and short. So, if we are going to use tall, we can say, the woman is not as tall as the man. The woman is less tall, this is our lesser noun, so she must go first in the sentence. The woman is not as tall as the man. However, if we are using the adjective short, we can say, the man is not as short as the woman. The reason that we must say the man first is because the man is less short. So remember, the noun that is less must go first in the sentence. Okay, here's your final practice for this lesson. I want you to compare the apple and the cake. Doesn't that look delicious there? Well, what kind of adjectives can we use when we compare these two things? Try to be creative. If you're stuck, think of using the adjectives healthy, or sweet, or delicious, or maybe fattening. Go ahead and write some sentences comparing the apple and the cake. You can use positive or negative comparisons, but make sure that the sentences you write are true. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in class.